Drove deep center field. Torres chasing and is gone, and the party is on in the Hub City. And he launches this one into the trays. Goodbye. And add to it. Straight to the roost.
My goodness, gets a breaking ball. Matthew Russo all over it.
And whoever operates the horn has been standing on it.
Hey, Golden Eagle fans, I'm Southern Miss Stadium announcer Jackson Walker, and you're listening to Nasty Bunch and Beyond.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome in to another episode of Nasty Bunch and Beyond. I'm your host, Dalton Trigg. We are about 2 weeks away from Southern Miss baseball season, and we have a very special guest today. As you can see, I'm here with Southern Miss baseball head coach, Christian Ostrander. Coach Oz, appreciate you taking time to join me. How you doing?
I'm good. Appreciate the opportunity, and just excited about what's coming. So glad to do this.
Well, I greatly appreciate it, and for all of you listening, if you'll go like, rate, and subscribe on all your favorite podcast platforms, hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. We're growing every week, and we appreciate the support we've had in these first few months. And Coach Oz, I'm going to start out with an easy one here, but how excited are you to get this season rolling and against a good UC Santa Barbara team here at the Pete?
Yeah, it's always this time of year. It's exciting. It's kind of why we do what we do as coaches, as players. I mean, the fun part. It's all fun. Don't get me wrong, but from August till Christmas break, it's kind of the off season fall, and you're working and you're trying to grow, and you get back from the break. It's like it gets very real, and so we're all excited about that. We got work to do. We got 2.5 weeks left to kind of get the rust off, and we know we got a great opponent coming in. It's going to be a really, really good series. I believe that they got a lot of experience back, kind of like we do. They got some really good arms back, kind of like we do. And so I think it's going to be a fun matchup that, to get it cranked up. And then, truthfully, every game's a dogfight, it feels like. So we look forward to opening it up here in 2.5 weeks.
There's nothing quite like opening weekend at the Pete, is there?
It's special. I mean, it's every game's special, but just the buzz, the aura around it, and the excitement, and it's just we look forward to it, and we can't wait for it to get here.
When you think of Southern Miss baseball at its best, what are some words that come to mind?
Oh wow, that's kind of that's a tough question to answer because there's so many. When you look at it from a team perspective, when you're out there in the win streaks or whatever, and you're kind of rolling and you feel that, if there's something you feel, I've been very fortunate, in 9 years now, I guess, which is hard to believe, to been a part of a lot of, those moments where it's just like it clicks and everything rolls, and everything that you hear and see from the team and the players is almost like, hey, we got this, get out of the way. So that's hard to get to. You got to earn it. You got to go find it. Everything's got to find it, try to find it. And I think really good, special, great teams do that. So when I think of Southern Miss baseball at its best is when we get to those moments and parts of the season when truthfully it's pure ownership by the players. And, and they're going out there and just kind of running things. So that's fun to watch.
So based off that answer, I guess it's safe to say, and I mean, it's early, it's preseason, but I mean, this team has some work to do to get to that being at its best point.
Yeah, every team I've ever been associated with, great ones here, it takes some time. They got to find their heartbeat and their DNA, and and we're just trying to point them in the right direction and lead them. And but they get it. Once they get it and they feel it, taste it, it's pretty evident. It really.
What's something about this year's team that from an outside perspective, people on the outside probably wouldn't expect coming into the season?
I guess, to me it would be the fact that you lose some really good players, some household names, some experience, and Carson Pato, Ozzie Pratt, Nick Monster, Jay Cook, although he was here 3 years, he was only really on that field one, but J.B. Middleton, you lose some, really good players and really good names, and you don't panic. You feel like, okay, we're going to miss those guys. Obviously they were great players and stuff, but then there's some guys that are ready for their turn to, maybe take another step and so forth. So to me, is you lost some important players, important pieces, but we feel like we reload and go from there. I can remember, when Dickerson last game here in 23 and going into 24 and like, oh my gosh, Dickey's not out there and stuff, and you just kind of figure it out, and it's not that you replace them, because you never can replace some of those guys. We just got somebody else ready to go out there and do the job themselves. So I think folks will be surprised to see that, you can lose some really good players, but still hopefully not miss a beat, man, and still be very competitive.
Yeah, you mentioned Pato. It's going to be weird not seeing him out there in right field this year, but that was one thing I was going to ask you about, some of the position battles that are still going on, but, specifically in right field, how much does, whoever you pick for right field, do they have to have some babysitting experience because of the Rouge Rugrats?
I think it is. I think it's unique. I think it's a neat thing. I think it's something I can tell you right now that, Ben Higdon is he wants that spot, and I fully expect him to kind of go earn that. He still's got work to do. We got a great outfield core. We got good competition, but and part of it, I can remember us talking about it, jokingly, but serious as well, that you want that role, don't you? And the fact, because it's more than just going and playing good defense in right field.
You're connecting with the fans.
You are. It's you're warming up with over the fence, or the ball you get to warm up with your guys in between innings comes from the Roost. It's the recognition of the Roost. It's just kind of showing appreciation to the 16th out lounge, to the Roost, all that stuff. So yeah, it's I think it's a very unique spot to play here at the Peak.
Well, are there any other position battles that should be noted as we get closer to this? I'm sure there's a bunch, but there's some new pieces coming in. There's some pieces that have been around for a long time. But what are some of the more interesting ones going on right now, if you can talk about it?
Yeah, I think there's a bunch. I don't buy into just because you did it last year, it's gifted to you this year mentality. I think competition's something that keeps you on your toes and keeps an edge about you, and certainly we talk about that, and don't get complacent, don't get comfortable, because as soon as you get comfortable, you're going to get burnt, and but great competition going on in the middle infield. You got two very reliable guys at second base, and Kyle Morrison, a transfer from Southdown, Braden Branto, that are both doing fine jobs. So one's a freshman, one's a senior. So there's an experience maturity factor there that whatever that can maybe sway that a little bit. Then at shortstop, you got Seth Smith and Ty Long, both could go play shortstop right now. And so forth. So it's. There's great competition there. At third base, you got Dre and Jace over there competing. First base, don't have a ton of competition there. Russo pretty much going to anchor that down, but you got guys you're working, and in case there's something that Russo has to come out of the lineup for a spell or whatnot. Outfield's one of the biggest competition factors, that and catching, in my opinion, along with the middle infield. Behind the plate, you got Tucker and Odom that. Let's just be honest, those two guys need to carry the load. Which one's going to carry the most load, most of it? That's up to them to decide. Last year, Tucker kind of did that. The year before, Odom kind of did that. So it's great, friendly competition. And then the outfield, I feel like you got 4 older guys fighting for 3 outfield spots, and you got 2 younger guys, 2 freshmen that are kind of nipping at their heels, that are going to be ready at some point, and maybe sooner rather than later. So. That's why we're doing it. We try to remind them every day when we go out there and practice scrimmage that you're trying to make a statement. Give me a reason to put your name in that lineup opening day, whether you're a pitcher, hitter, whatever it might be. So,
well, you mentioned Caleb Staley, Kyle Morrison. Those 2 guys coming in is going to be huge. You had some big pitchers, pitcher transfer coming in. I feel like one of the things that kind of sets this program apart from some of the other ones around the country is the ability to keep talent in-house and to develop that talent. Obviously, those guys coming in, I'm sure they'll play a big role in this season and how it goes and everything. But as far as in-house guys, is there a guy that comes to mind, or two guys that come to mind, however many, that you've seen develop and take a leap this offseason?
Yeah, I think so. I think if you're going to be a developmental program, which I like to think that we are, I think that's a great compliment to have that, so people to say, hey, that program develops well. I think that's what you want to do. You want to coach and let them grow, but you got to let them play too. So you got to let them, get going early. And I think we've done a pretty good job of that. So I think there's several guys that are going to be a little different now than they were a year ago or 2 years ago, and things like that. So, probably nobody I can name because I think there's so many, but I think on the mound, on the pitching side of it, I know we feel like that there's several guys that are making the jumps that you hope to see from year 1 to year 2, from year 2 to year 3. And, there's a lot of guys from that year 2 to year 3, that's kind of when they get famous. And tongue in cheek when I say that, but that's when it's like, wow, okay, this guy's got a chance now to go be a draft prospect and things of that nature. So I feel good about that. I really do. I think you're going to see some young men that are just a little better than they were a year ago that are out there, whether it's all, position player wise or as a pitcher.
Last year, the team set a program record for most home runs in a single season. Do you expect this year's team to have similar power like that, or do you think there will be some more small ball mixed in? Or what are your thoughts on that early? Again, I know things can change as the season progresses, but what's your feel on it?
Well, you got to know what you are, what you have. We got a lot of age and experience in ABs on this offensive side of it. That accounts for a lot. Experience is a real thing. Division I baseball, high level baseball. You got several guys that have a lot of at bats and a lot of been there, done that. That's huge. That's invaluable. I think we have a chance to slug just as good again. Time will tell. You don't ever know. How it goes, how it shakes out. But I definitely feel like that's something that this offensive unit's going to have the capability of doing. I'm not saying we're going to be one-dimensional. We're still going to try to be able to do some of the finer things, the smaller things, the execution type things when it calls for it too. But you just got to kind of know what your what your makeup is and what you have and go with it. So, but I think that could be a strong suit.
A big part of that slugging would be Matt Russo, Bull. You mentioned him earlier. When it comes to Russo and his experience and his power and everything, how do you see him progressing in because it already seemed like he was part of the heartbeat of this team even last year, but how do you see that improving for him, if it can improve any for him going into his senior year? Well,
I think so much is one, just who he is, the character of him and what he is. Take baseball out of it. If we were just, in the business sector or something like that, he's still going to be a passionate young man that has great people skills, that's infectious, right? So now you add that to a team and, and then you add baseball in there and the locker room and, well, you get the leader, you get the guy that knows how to lead, and he certainly does, I remember, he's been here since 22, and in 2022 he was a red shirt because of, we needed it and stuff, and approached about being our bullpen catcher. He open arms, let's do it. He got to experience travel, road, see a great team. Got beat up against some guys that really threw hard in that bullpen, but he did it, and that's just who he was. And then, 23, I can remember moments, him getting opportunities and doing it. I remember one at Auburn Regional, him getting a big hit, one of those night games and stuff, and just things like that. And that kind of catapulted him to 24. It was in the season of 24 that I started really hearing his voice and noticing how much that voice is commanding, attention from his peers. And quite honestly, I think by the end of that year, by the end of that season, he was one of the primary leaders. Whether it was he knew it or not, or whatnot, I felt it in last year and into this year. So the evolution of him as a leader, what he is, what this place means to him. You know, it's going to be very emotional, just like it was for Carson and so many others when that season's over for him here, because it means so much. But you know, what a poster child, you know, for Southern Miss baseball.
Absolutely. Another poster child I'm going to ask you about, another senior, Colby Allen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he decided to come back. He could have gone to the MLB draft. You know, you're losing some guys like Middleton and Payne to the draft, but he's coming back. And I remember seeing an interview where he said part of the reason he wanted to come back, one, he just loved Southern Miss so much. Two, he felt like he could still develop further and improve on what he already has. So in your eyes, you see it every day. What is it that Colby Allen, you know, can improve on going into this season, or what have you seen him already improve on this offseason?
Well, you know, to me, it was pretty well documented that the fact that he's been a two-pitch guy for us, a fastball slider, you know, sinker slider guy that's done it really well. And, you know, and both of them are above average pitches. You know, they would grade out to above average. So now, you know, the challenge was, especially if you're shifting roles from a reliever where two pitches is probably enough, you know, to where if you want to start getting more length and try to get, you know, 5, 6, 7 or more innings, you know, having that third pitch to, you know, just kind of keep them off balance a little bit more would be important, not just for him now, but it's important for his development and his professional baseball career that will happen after this season. So, yeah, you know, made a commitment to him, and we'll do everything we can. And Coach Leger's done a great job with him, and we've worked hard with him to help him kind of find the right pitch, find the right grip per se for that changeup and that third pitch. So it's still a work in progress, but it's coming around, and I think it'll be pretty noticeable here pretty soon.
Obviously, man, especially with pitching, but you know, analytics, big part of the game. It'll continue to be a big part of the game going forward. How do you, as a head coach, kind of manage what the analytics are telling you versus your feel for what's going on out there?
I'll be honest with you, that's something to me that I think is great to have. It's great tools to have. We use them as teaching tools. We help, you know, use them to help us speak the language with the guys. Coach Leger does all that with the pitching side of it. I know what I'm kind of a creature of habit with how I coach pitchers, and that aspect's important. We integrate it. Coach Leger does most of the voice with that. I know what it means. I know what it looks like and stuff. I just, at the end of the day, you know, that's not who I am. Now, if I was a younger pitching coach, you know, coming up this time, boy, you better immerse yourself in it and know it and stuff. But where I'm at with it, it's great to have great help, and our hitting coaches do a great job with the analytics and metrics. And again, I think there's places for it, but it's stuff like, you know, when you see spin rate, we talk about spin rate, you talk about RPMs with it in a 2,800 or 3,000 RPM breaking ball. Well, before all this, we recognized that. We just said, man, that guy got a really good hammer.
Right.
You know, I mean, he can really spin it, or a fastball that jumped. You know, now it's just got ride. It's got you know, induced vertical break, and it's these numbers and stuff. Well, your eyes still saw it back then, you know, and things. So it is fun to have. It's part of the game. It's not going away. We certainly immerse ourselves in it. I'm just thankful to have great assistants that you know, maybe has the patience for that technology that I don't have, but we use it mightily, and it's a great teaching tool.
Well, one more question I want to ask you about just coaching in general. You've been a head coach, you know, for a couple years, head coach here for a couple years now. What's the hardest part of this head coaching job to you? Because you do a good job making it look pretty easy, you know. And I'm not saying it either. I know it's not. But what's the hardest part for you?
That's a great question. You know, this is probably a politically correct answer, but you know, I look at it. There's nothing hard, and because I'm so grateful, you know, to be in this position, to be at a program like this, to have, you know, one of my, you know, close friends, guy I look up to, Coach Barry, feel like I was the next guy to take over something that he did so well with and stuff. So there's nothing hard. It's all a blessing, and I mean that. You know, that there's times where it can be stressful, you know, and stuff, but that's just part of it, man. I mean, this is we want the bullseye right here, and let's go. That's what we try to tell our players and stuff too. So, but it takes a lot of work. You got great assistants that work their tails off. You got a great staff. Carly keeps us everything organized, I's dotted, the T's crossed, and you got a great strength coach that takes care of that aspect. You got a great trainer in Sven that takes care of that aspect. So really, I mean, it shouldn't be looked at as real hard, right? When you've got great people and we're all pushing for the same goal, but it's fun. It's a blessing, and I'm just very thankful to be in this position.
Yeah, there's nothing quite like doing something you love, as a job. They say you never work a day in your life if you're doing that. So.
Man, it is. It's and I try to share that with my daughters. I share it with these guys. Man, make sure you're chasing something that you truly do love, because I can tell you right now, I've been doing it since 1997, and in some form or fashion, different levels, and. I mean, it's like, are you kidding me? They pay me to do this. This is like, it's fun. And so very, very fortunate to feel that, because I know there's some people out there that don't.
Last question here, and, not to put you on the spot, not going to make you make any predictions or anything like that, but obviously this team has been incredibly successful for a number of years. Seems like the team or the program is getting close to a breakthrough. They're, every year they're always in the mix. Well, this year, you're starting the season out ranked in the preseason ranking. Seems like that doesn't usually happen, and then you have to work your way up into it. So there's hype building and all that. But what would it mean to you personally to get this team back to Omaha?
Oh wow! I mean, that would be, that's the chase. That's the pinnacle of what we do, and of getting there. You get there. Arguably, it can be almost easier to win that tournament than winning a regional, or with the format of it, with the built-in off days and stuff. So not discrediting how tough the College World Series is by any means, but getting there is hard. To be one of 8 teams out of 300 that gets to that, that pinnacle is tough. We've been close, and man, we've been real close. And this program's done it before. If you've done something once, you can do it again. It would mean everything, because, number one, I'm a competitor, and that's why we do what we do, right? But I want it for these players. I want it for these fans. I want it for this community. I want it for all those that's done it before us and stuff, and to help that out, to be a small part of, helping reach something that would mean so much to so many. But ultimately, you want to win a national championship, right? I mean, you got to believe that possibility is there, and it certainly is. If you get to that final round, if you get to that group of 8, and so we know what it looks like. We know what the blueprint looks like to get there. Doesn't mean it's easy. Doesn't mean it's a given. Doesn't mean just because you're ranked preseason. None of that stuff matters. There's not one thing of that matters right now, except these young men coming together, finding their pulse and their identity, going out there competing really hard, and in a game built around failures, taking it one day at a time. And we have a schedule built to where if you go out and win some games with it, you're going to have a shot. So that's all you can ask for. So, but it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a long haul, and but there's nothing more than any of us associated with this program wants than to get Southern Miss back to Omaha.
Well, I think this team definitely has the talent, and if they can come together the way some of these teams have in the previous years, I think there's a really good shot at it. But you got to have some breaks go your way along the way too. So
you do. You got to have some fortune.
Well, Coach Oz, I appreciate you joining me. Mm-hmm. Great time getting to talk with you. I appreciate you taking the time with us, and that's going to do it for another episode of Nasty Bunch and Beyond. Appreciate all of you coming in and listening to us as always, and we'll see you next week. Y'all have a good one.